So Lee, can you tell us a little bit about the support that the RLSS give to families around water safety?
Yeah, of course. First thing first, we try and be as proactive as possible. So again, our motto is about helping people to enjoy the water safely. So for us, it's about how do we, through the various different ways that parents and families might interact with the water, how do we ensure that we get that safety message across? Because the water is fun, but it does come with inherent risks if it's not done in a way where safety is always first. Of course, so we work with parents and other adult groups, teachers and local communities to make sure as much as possible we can get safety education to children at the earliest possible age. And then we've got various programs that move through into kind of late teens that we can teach children fundamental and physical skills so that they can be safe in the water, but also that they can react if there's an emergency, so basic rescue skills. The other element of what we do is a little bit more reactive in the fact that we work with a lot of families that unfortunately have lost children and lost loved ones to a drowning incident. We obviously like to make sure that doesn't happen, and education is the most important element of that. But a huge part of our program is also how we work with families, use them to educate other families, but also provide them with the support that they need in what can be fundamentally traumatic and difficult circumstances.
Yeah, absolutely. And drowning is sadly a very common cause of accidental death, isn't it, in youngsters?
Yes, it's a very high cause of accidental death in the UK. But I don't think a lot of people do know that. There's around 700 accidental death by drowning in the UK every single year across UK and Ireland. And again, I don't think many people know how significant the issue necessarily is. And for children especially, it's always a really difficult scenario because fundamentally the adults always feel a tremendous amount of guilt in that scenario, in that they've not been able to respond, react, or keep the environment safe. So it is a significant issue, but it's an issue that can be easily remedied with really basic skills and knowledge.
And how important would you say that it is for families to understand water safety?
I would say it's crucial. Swimming is a huge life-saving skill. It's something that we always advocate for. We want to provide the scenario where every child in the UK can learn how to swim, because if they fall into the water, if they get into difficulty, that is a really important skill. But it does go much wider. That's survival skills and the basic risk assessment skills, and to be able to ensure that people are doing the right thing, not putting themselves at risks. Staying away from the water when they're walking, but simple things that families can firstly take responsibility of, but also take the responsibility to educate their own children and other children that they come into contact with. For us, it's about personal responsibility. There's been much in the press about lifeguards not being on beaches over the summer this year. There's only been a significant reduced service. But lifeguards in any case can only be in certain environments at certain times. They are normally seasonal and they don't operate past 6 p.m. at most beaches. So for us, if parents take responsibility of that environment, take responsibility of the education and the safety of their own children as they grow up, then 9 times out of 10 for us, I think that most accidents can be remedied in that way. So we really do advocate that parents take the water seriously, as I'm sure many do, but they do fundamentally know how to react in an emergency and know how to stay safe.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's really important at beaches, isn't it? That I know the beach near where I live, there's lots of currents that don't look like they're particularly dangerous, but actually they are. So it's understanding the area that you're going to and understanding where it is safe to swim and where not. Yeah.
I mean, we're really cautious. We don't want to be the fun police and tell people not to go to the beach and not enjoy the water. But you're right, there's a huge amount of risk, especially with coastal water, that if people aren't used to swimming there or used to the tides, the currents and the conditions, then we tend to see quite a lot of people getting into really basic difficulty in those circumstances. It isn't typically the people that live in coastal towns or live in a sort of area because they are aware of the various risks. It's people that are travelling there for the day or potentially going on a holiday. So it's so crucial that they do take time to speak to the lifeguards, research the local area, speak to locals, because they're the ones that will be able to tell you where's safe to swim
Yeah.
and also where to get some help if you need it.
And when we were chatting the other day, you were saying about inflatables being a particular danger for people going to the beach.
Yeah, we work really closely with the RLSS, one of our key partners, and they're obviously really concerned this year for the safety of the public as we are. And one of their key messages this year is to transport families not to take inflatables to the beach. Again, it's a great thing to do. It's a great thing to take to the beach. It's loads of fun. But there are a huge amount of interventions by lifeguards at beaches every year where children are sitting in inflatables and they start to fundamentally drift out to sea. So it's really important that with a reduced lifeguard service, that as many families as possible, please don't take those inflatables to the beach, because it can be really challenging once the wind catches it with offshore winds to get children back in.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously with the weather being amazing over the last few weeks and people kind of been able to be a little bit, go out a little bit more than they have done. People are visiting rivers and lakes as well. Have you got any tips for people who maybe want to go and do that?
Yeah, I mean, we want people to go to places where there's lifeguards. Supervision is really key. If you are going into cold open water to take a dip, really that is coming with some risks, especially because of the cold water. I think it's challenging in that I think familiarity breeds contempt a little bit, in that we tend to see that there's these local quarries, lakes, potentially river spots where families have swum for generations, and just because there's never been an incident, it doesn't mean that in the future that there won't be. And normally the issue is actually the temperature of the water. We're all really blessed in the UK and across Ireland that we get to swim and learn to swim in such great environments that are heated and well supervised. But the thing to really remember is those skills don't really translate once you get into cold open water, which is normally at least 50% colder than we're used to swimming in. Our muscles, our breathing, everything is normally affected. So if people are going to enjoy the water and fancy taking a dip, our advice would be that they try and stay away from it. But if they do go in, that they stay really shallow, stay close to the shore, and that somebody is there watching them, so that there is an issue, that they can raise the alarm or get some help in some way.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, all the pools that we swim in are at least 30 degrees, and open water's probably half that if you're lucky. And it's a massive difference, isn't it, for people to be aware of how that affects the body, because it's not just always a little bit chilly. That literally affects your body in every way, and it makes it really hard to breathe in a lot of cases.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it tends to not get above 15 degrees. If you head up into Scotland, it's normally not much above 10. And they can be, there's a huge growth in open water swimming, and it's something that we love to support. But it has to be done in the right way with people who are acclimatized to the water. And I think one of the common issues is that because the air temperature is warmer, people think that it's okay to swim and the water temperature will be warmer, but some of the bigger bodies of water just simply don't heat up over the summer months, even with a prolonged heat spell.
Yeah, definitely. I'm very involved in open water swimming myself outside of work, and the amount of safety procedures we have to go to run any events, and then you see people kind of just jumping into lakes and things, and it's it's quite scary. So I think it's really important for people to be aware of that, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So with the weather being so amazing over the last few weeks, there seems to be a rise in the amount of paddling pools in gardens. Have you got any top tips for parents who might want to have a paddling pool in their garden, how to maintain it safely?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I've got a 2 on myself, and we've got some large paddling pool that I've put a slide next to that she's got kind of jungle gym in the garden in. And we've had a great couple of weeks. She's absolutely loved it. And it's great for a great opportunity when children can't get into the pool, to get them into the water and still splashing around and getting used to the water. So it's a great thing to do. But again, it does come with some risks. Normally, paddling pool providers are great at providing advice on the side of paddling pools. So I encourage parents to read that and take note. Supervision is obviously key. I think we can, again, get a little bit familiar with our gardens and rush off and do little jobs. And we have seen circumstances before, unfortunately, when children have been left in the pool, especially when other stuff is getting thrown in the pool, such as balls and etc. Sometimes it's difficult to be able to see a child if you haven't got full eyes in them all the time. And things like inflatation devices that young babies can be put in are also quite common. And again, they should really always be in arm's length. Just because they potentially look really stable and not tipped over before doesn't mean that the baby might not lean forward in the future. And if you haven't got close eyes on them, it can turn into a tragic incident really quickly. In terms of managing, the pool at the end of the day, and as you're filling it up again, supervision is key. It can be a bit of a pain, but what we would say to everybody is that the best thing to do with paddling pools is to empty them after use. It's the most safest thing to do. If you are going to leave the water, if you've got a large pool and it's taking you 8 hours to fill up, then unless you've got a secure covering that's probably come with the pool, again, we suggest not leaving the water in when it's not supervised or overnight. It's so easy for children to just head off out of your watching eye and fall into the water. But we've seen instances where people have used black bin bags to try and heat pools up quickly, or use them as covers. They're extremely dangerous if they're not secured. So again, if there's not a manufacturer's covering that comes with it, we suggest that people don't use those type of makeshift devices, because if a child just lean forward in them, it's probably not secure enough to stop them falling in.
It'd be very easy to disappear under that as well, wouldn't it, and not be seen if they're under a black bag. So it certainly makes me cringe every time I see it on social media.
Indeed, it's impossible if the child, and it does take seconds for a child to get into difficulty in those scenarios. So it could be really fatal if they do go under that. So I think it's really important for parents not to use those type of devices. And that advice goes to any type of water in the garden. If there's any standing water in ponds, even things like water pots and buckets, all that it takes for somebody to unfortunately drown is for the water to cover their nose and mouth and suffocate. So it takes literally centimetres of water. So if there's buckets, water butts, please make sure that they're covered up and accessible. Any ponds in the garden, make sure that there's secure fencing. Locking gates are really crucial to purchase if you do have a pond in the garden, and fences, so that if the gate's if the gate shuts behind you, then you know that the child's not in there. If it doesn't shut properly, for instance, and again, children can find a way, as they always do, to sneak into places.
Definitely. And I think one of the dangers of being around things like paddling pools is the old mobile phone, isn't it? People get easily distracted by being on their phone, and then maybe don't watch what's going on. The same at the beach, I think, isn't it? We see it a lot. How important do you think it is for people to kind of put the phone down and watch what's going on?
Yeah, isn't it? It's a huge part of our lives now, isn't it? And it seems like we're giving really common sense advice, and maybe I suppose teach people to suck eggs, but as we are both so close to this issue, we do know that it happens. So mobile phones, any type of electronic device, they have become a part of our lives, and they can be so distracting. So again, our advice would just be when children are around water, the mobile phones get left in the house far away, and this includes being in the bath as well. Again, just that phrase, familiarity breeds, because you've been on your phone before, and the children might have been in the bath and they've been okay. It doesn't mean that something might not happen that needs your attention. So I'd always say, always eyes on and always pay attention.
Yeah, absolutely. So crucial, isn't it? I think it's, we don't want to scare people off going in the water. We want lots of people to enjoy the water, but I think it's just about doing it safely and being aware that everything that could go wrong. I think teaching little ones to learn to swim is absolutely crucial, for their safety, to make sure they are comfortable around water. So we'd never say avoid water, but just access it in a safe manner, making sure it's nice and controlled.
Yeah, and that's why our motto is enjoy the water safely. We want people to get out, enjoy the water, learn to swim, but always just have that in the back of your mind about what could go wrong. Is there anything I can do to make this situation even safer than it is? Yeah,
for sure. Great. Lee, you've got some online resources that families can access. Do you want to tell us a little bit about those?
Yeah, so this week, starting on the 12th, it's Drowning Prevention Week. We have a campaign week every single year that focuses just before the crucial period as the weather warms up, although we've already had a fantastic May. But yeah, typically as children are heading off into the summer to enjoy their summer holidays, we do whatever we can to get a message across. Normally, we're really blessed with the fact that organisations such as water babies, pool operators, schools, they take a big hand in educating children pre-summer and in swimming lessons. Obviously, with the environment around us at the moment, we've not been able to do that this year. So what we've done instead is create digital resources for the campaign week, so that parents can take their children through online education, gives them really basic understanding of what risk could be associated with the water, but how in a fun way they can then educate themselves so that they can do the right things, whether it be to prepare to go to the water or whether it be in an emergency situation. So we've created this year packages for 5 to 10-year-olds, and we've got a package for anybody above 10 years old. That package is great for a family to sit down, especially if you've got older children. The worrying thing for us is that around 80% of the individuals that do lose their life each year are males. There's inherent risk-taking behaviour in males. So again, for parents to access those online lessons as early as possible to make sure that water safety and understanding risks around water is almost a habit of theirs is really crucial, because as they get older, as they tend to move away from the watchful eye of parents and take more risks, we know that if children have that level of understanding and level of ability to ensure the water safety, then hopefully that they won't take risks, and hopefully if there are any risks involved and they see somebody in the water, then they take the correct emergency action. So all that's available through our website.